No? There we go. Cool. Yeah, so Jeremy Hurst from Datorama. Thanks to the media post folks for giving us an opportunity to speak. You guys pick awesome events. So maybe I picked the wrong company. I should come work for you guys. So not up here to kind of pitch you guys on Datorama. Hopefully I can maybe just share a few observations that we kind of think about in the market, and obligated to tell you a tidbit about Datorama, but that's about it. So let's see if we can get this. So thing one, pretty much every conversation that we're having with brands, with agencies, has something to do with transparency, right? Something to do with brand safety. And I think there's some good and there's some bad when it comes to transparency. So maybe to start with the bad side, you know, the platforms still run the world, right? You can't get your data out. You just kind of have to trust their numbers. They still don't really want to take any real responsibility for what kind of shows up on the platform. Same story, we kind of have to deal with it, but I think there's some good baked in there too. First off, I think we're seeing increased regulatory scrutiny, right? So we have GDPR, we have the legislation in California. I think we'll start to see this happening in more and more places. But more importantly, I think there's a kind of refreshed focus on the first-party data set and the value of that data set. And I think it was Evan this morning that talked about LiveRamp and how important that is to his tech stack. But I think there's a newfound ability to leverage the first-party data set and onboard that data set to execute on it. And then I think you also have the big marketing clouds that are putting a lot of emphasis on this first-party data set, right? So you have Adobe that has built an incredible asset around kind of Omniture and Site Catalyst and Web Analytics data and all the assets that they've bolted onto that. I think the other big one is the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Full disclosure, we just got acquired by Salesforce, but they've built the CRM, which is a really valuable data set as well, and then they've added the DMP and all these other assets that they've bolted around that. But I think this is kind of generally a very good thing that we're spending a lot more time thinking about kind of the most valuable data that we have as marketers. Thing two, and I think a theme that we've heard a lot about this week, programmatic is complex, right? Maybe you're building your own bidder with the folks at Beeswax, right? Maybe you're leveraging triple lift for high impact native units. Maybe you're testing out audio units with Pandora and Spotify. We haven't even talked much about connected and advanced TV, but it kind of leaves marketers in this place where you're kind of sitting there and you're like, how the hell do I get a handle on all of these different data sets that are formatted in different ways within a relevant time window to be able to kind of make changes to improve performance. It's a pretty hairy challenge. It's exactly like IBM came to us and they said, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising across tons of different regions and about 100 different product offerings. Everybody has different budgets, and goals, and KPIs. Like, how do we deal with this, right? So it's a pretty hairy problem. And thing three is that you have to think about some aspect of growth, right? And we've spent some time talking about brand KPIs versus performance KPIs. So whether growth is measured in growing share of voice or your footprint on social, or just growing conversation like the folks at PBR, which I love their stuff, or performance, if you're growing sales, revenue, customer lifetime value, whatever it is, marketers are accountable to some aspect of growth, right? So obligated to tell you a little bit about Datorama. Basically, what we've tried to do is create a marketing intelligence platform to bring all of those data sets together into a single source of truth, if you will, to hopefully kind of inform better and faster decision making. So what does that mean in practice? Take your programmatic data, your first-party data, all of your other marketing channels. We connect and unify that data. We think that marketers shouldn't have to think about database architecture. You shouldn't have to think too much about SQL queries. You shouldn't have to think about the fact that site to placement is a one-to-many relationship and how does that relate to everything else. This is all kind of boring mumbo-jumbo tech stuff that doesn't really matter to marketers ultimately. So we try to enable kind of business users and marketers to do that at scale without kind of thinking about the technology. And kind of the result of that, we talk about a marketing analytics cockpit. So it's kind of giving you all of your data sets, the associated insights, all of the KPIs that you need, putting that stuff at your fingertips so that you can make decisions, right? And whether you're a brand marketer, a performance marketer, an agency, it's basically the same problem looked at from a little bit of a different perspective, from different levels of granularity, but ultimately we're talking about the same things. So that's really all I have for you. I think the last thing I'll say is it's super humbling to be in a room with a group of really smart, talented, passionate people. So looking forward to spending one more day with you guys and hopefully sharing in a couple more drinks. Thanks.
We're going to take our break now. Thanks, Jeremy. Is it just you here, or you have team members here too?
My colleague Brian is in the room right there.
Okay.
Brian Justice.
You
yeah.
can talk to the